Hi everyone, this is Archangeli. Welcome to my channel. A warm welcome back to old friends, and hey, welcome to new friends. So, I just got a shipment from Miami. All of these things were in it. Some old stuff, some new stuff. I think today we're just going to talk about Melia from Xenoblade Chronicles. We'll get to some of these other things at a later date, but today let's just talk about Melia. So here's the front of the box. There's an illustration of Melia in the corner here, as well as information on this side. There's the GoodSmile as well as the Nintendo logos with a holographic sticker. On this side, we have a lovely photo of the Melia figure. And on the back, we have a full photo of the figure, as well as some legal information and just general information about the figure in Japanese. On this side, we have a photo of the figure. It's a bit of an odd angle. It's kind of like an armpit shot. And at the top, there's a viewing window shaped like an X for Xenoblade. And on the bottom, there's a little silhouette of the figure, and it just says Melia Ancient. So let's get opening. So I did find it a little unusual that GoodSmile chose to release a figure of Melia at this point. In the game, you don't unlock Melia as a usable character until about chapter 6 or 7. I think it's chapter 6, and there's only 17 chapters in the game, so it's almost halfway through the game before she becomes a usable character. All right, now here I'm just looking at the instructions for assembling the figure. If you need to pause here, these are the English instructions on her assembly. What was I saying? Now, Melia doesn't become a usable character until about halfway through the game. So it's a bit surprising that they chose to make this figure instead of, for example, Fiora, who's the main female protagonist. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm thinking might have played into this. Oh, look, this base has like fuzzy grass, but it does have a metal peg, which is pretty cool. And here is the top of her spear, the top of her weapon. And this is the main pole of the spear. And here is the figure. So it's fully assembled. There's some plastic just protecting her legs. And here, as I hold her up, you can see she's in this really dynamic pose with these lovely, lovely angel wings on her head. She's kind of giving me some Ragnarok Online vibes, like that angel headband. So let me just get her inserted onto the base here. It's actually quite stiff, so there we go. I got it. I'm just going to double check, and then we're going to put the spear in her hand. And the directions actually say you may need to warm this up with a little bit of warm water just to soften up the material a little bit, but it is quite difficult to insert this into her hand. It's quite a snug fit, but once you get it in, the top of the spear just clips on. There's a little hole and it just slides in perfectly, and then we're done. There she is. So we've got a nice close-up of the figure spinning here, and we can have a quick look at some of the detail work on her. As she's spinning around here, you can actually see there's some body blushing on her armpit. Aside from her armpit and a little bit on her fingertips and maybe on her collarbones, there's not a lot of body blushing going on this figure. In fact, I would actually comment that some of the paintwork is quite flat. It's not messy, like it's not like coming out of the lines or anything like that. It's very tidy, but boring. There's not a lot of shading or texture or dimension. I mean, there is some, but not a lot compared to some of my other figures, for example, or even the Pyra and Mithra figures that I opened recently. Her pose is really, really fantastic, and I feel like the paintwork doesn't accentuate her pose, and it's an absolute shame. Like, for example, her hair, there's so much dimension and movement in her hair, but they've only really used, it looks like, 2 colors in her hair, and it just comes across very flat. I think my lighting is actually making this figure look more vibrant than it actually is in person. That's not to say all of the paint choices were bad. On the pole of her spear, there's a little bit of shimmer, and the I don't know what to call these, but like the gems that come off the side, these 6 little gems around the top of her spear, they actually look almost like moonstone, the way that these are painted. So those are really nice. But what bothers me a lot is how flat and dull the wings look on the top of her head. I feel like they really don't do justice to how detailed the sculpt there is. And even on the metalwork on her costume, I feel like something's missing. The paintwork is just a little bit dull, and I would give this maybe a 7 out of 10 for paintwork, but a 10 out of 10 for the sculpt, which is a bit of an imbalance if you ask me. So about a year ago, Nintendo released the Xenoblade Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch, and it featured an expansion pack storyline in which Melia was the main female protagonist. That, combined with the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just came out, I think may be very good reasons as to why GoodSmile decided to release this figure at this time. So this may be a bit of a spoiler alert, but Melia appears in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. She is a very long-living species. Her race is the Antiqua, and so by the time the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 happen, she's still alive. So you will encounter her in the game as an NPC, and it's just really lovely to see her again. And I think that is a very good reason for the timing of this figure. So there you have it. This is Melia Ancient from Xenoblade Chronicles by GoodSmile. Now, I have a few thoughts. First of all, this fuzzy grass base, as much as it is aesthetically pleasing and really fun to pet, from a real-life practical standpoint, it's very impractical because it's going to get dusty. Everything gets dusty at some point. How do you clean this? You really can't. So I think GoodSmile were thinking all looks, but not practicality when they designed this. That's just a thought. I've already told you what I think of some of the paintwork. Some things are a little lackluster, which is an absolute shame because the pose, the sculpt of this figure is fantastic. The way that she's balanced on one leg with her weapon, she's really, really beautiful. And when I was, assembling her, you saw how difficult it was for me to get the foot into the metal peg. This is a very well balanced figure. It's really sturdy and it is not going anywhere. It's really well balanced. And I think that thought process was very, very well done. Overall, I think it's a really beautiful figure, and I'm really pleased to be adding it to my Xenoblade display case over here. Yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed joining me today for this little box opening. I hope you like this kind of content. If you did, please like this video, and don't forget to subscribe so you get a notification when I post something new. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.